BRICS had a meeting here in sunny South Africa, June 2nd in Cape Town, South Africa. And we're going to talk about what the media was privy to, all of the things that were discussed in this meeting and why you need to know about it. Welcome to the channel. My name is Ashley. On my channel, Ashley in Africa, I talk about my experience of living and doing business here on the continent of Africa. I live in Johannesburg, South Africa. I have a business here where we work with 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that have an interest in doing business on the continent, but are looking for reliable insight, reliable information, and reliable data around their investment opportunities so that they can feel safe about their investment and ultimately build their global portfolio. So if that's you, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this content, and share it with someone who would find value in it. And BRICS is the economic conglomerate that is looking to basically create its own currency around trade and economic development around the world, right? So they are really behind this de-dollarization movement of having an economic currency that is for the focus of developing nations to basically trade amongst themselves, do business amongst themselves without having to access the US dollar, which is something that, is happening all over the world, but BRICS is the economic conglomerate that is really heading it. And, this summit, the BRICS summit that is coming up in August, has been discussed on where it's going to be held. There's a lot of politics around it with the ICC and, the war crimes of said war crimes committed, right, by the president of Russia. And so this was a preliminary gathering that happened last week in Cape Town, and essentially all the ministers of the BRICS nations, which are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, gathered and, just discussed different initiatives. One of the main initiatives was other countries want to join, and these countries are known as the friends of BRICS. Were there talking about how soon can we get involved. The countries that were there were include Argentina, Bangladesh, Burundi, Comoros, DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Gabon, Indonesia, Iran, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Oh, also in Uruguay. So these are the friends of BRICS. So in my understanding of reporting on this prior, these countries have already been submitting documentation. The qualification of a BRICS country includes its ability to trade, includes having some type of resource available for trade to contribute to the economic development bank of the BRICS economic conglomerate. Right? So is that making sense? Iran's former foreign ministry said, in a statement that it wishes to join the bloc, the BRICS bloc sooner than later. And ultimately, it seems like, the current BRICS ministers, the current BRICS directors are like, yeah, we want you, but there's a process. And because this is a new thing, right? This is a new innovative way of economic development outside of the G20, outside of the G7, outside of the EU, they're saying we've got to create some systems that are going to make sure that joining this conglomerate has a benefit for all parties involved. And, there's a ton of conversations happening around, the prime minister of, I think it was Foreign Affairs for South Africa has a Foreign Affairs International Relations, Madam Naledi, she has a ton of interest in making sure that other African countries join this economic conglomerate for their benefit, right? And so we are seeing that happening already with them showing up to this summit or this informal meeting, rather, last week, where we've got Gabon, we have Egypt, the DRC, Comoros, Burundi. Like, these are really big things happening, and it's really exciting to see. So you know, with at least a dozen countries having an interest, the international relations minister said BRICS was just not yet ready to accept them. And I love that. I love that they are figuring this out, right? Because this is a new initiative, new being like they're getting a ton of press, they're getting a lot of intel, right? So they also need to make sure that these friends are actual friends, right? There's a vetting process that is happening here. And I love that. I love the intentionality around it. I love the fact that they're not just saying, okay, everybody come on board with an interest. Of course, they have it in desire, because the bigger the group, the better, the bigger the impact. And, you know, for those that have an interest or understanding, BRICS compromises 35% of Earth's territory, 40% of the world's population, and 30% of the world's gross domestic product, which is growing and at a rapid pace. So this is exciting. This is really big news. The conversation around whether or not the BRICS Summit will be held here, South Africa has been very stern in it, but there have been conversations of it potentially being held in China or India, just to avoid the backlash from the West that has already been rolling in. But South Africa has said it's committed to hosting it. The dates are still the same. I believe it's the 22nd to the 24th of August, because these BRICS nations have scheduled that in. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to attending, if it is here in South Africa, where I can really be on the ground to understanding, you know, what the rollout plan is. What are some of the initiatives that are taking place? We already know that their currency has a real prospect in becoming a global currency, and I'm going to talk about that in the next video. So if you enjoyed this content, please be sure to like it, share it with someone who would find value, and subscribe to the channel. Until the next video, we'll see you soon.